Welcome, Uncle Sugar's Magic Circus. I'm joined today by my good friend Keith Kelly and Margaret Snyder.
Yeah.
Maggie was a Marine. So, Maggie, tell us what led you into the Marine Corps. How did that happen for you?
Well, I guess the number one thing that led me to joining the Marine Corps is they told me I was a girl and I couldn't do it.
Ooh.
You're a girl?
That I am. So I'm a slightly type A personality. I've always been into athletics. I've always been into, just a very athletic person. And I went to Catholic school, Baptist school, all girls Catholic high school, very anti-military. I had actually thrown away a couple of full ride scholarships for music, which pissed off my parents to no end because I was supposed to go travel Europe and be a concert pianist.
Oh, you were a pianist, okay.
Yes.
Can we say that? Pianist?
Pianist, yeah.
Pianist.
You gotta pronounce it right, that's
okay.
all.
I want to get in trouble.
I'm all, yeah.
You can't New Jersey that word, okay?
Hey, what the?
Hey, the pianist.
It's scumbag Leon. So then what happened?
So I interviewed all the recruiters. My dad was in the Army. I have cousins that were in the Navy and the Air Force. I had nobody that had ever joined the Marine Corps. So I talked to all of the family. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to be like my dad. I'm going to go in the Army. I'm going to be an MP. I'll get out. I'll be a cop. My dad said, all right, you can join the Army. However, you can't be an MP and you're not going to be a cop. All right, so then I'm not joining the Army. Well, then I talked to my cousins, and they
was
said...
that a restriction because you're a female, or...?
No, he didn't want me to do what he did.
Oh, I
My
see.
dad didn't want me being a cop.
So he was just saying it because he didn't want you doing it.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
And so I talked to my cousins in the Navy and the Air Force. They're like, yeah, your personality, we love you, however, but... you probably are not going to like the Air Force. The Navy, you'd be okay. However, it's probably not going to be what you are thinking it's going to be. However, they all did tell me, go talk to the recruiters, make a list of questions, ask every single recruiter the same list of questions, and see who you like the best. So I did. I talked to Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps recruiter, and Coast Guard. I talked to all of them. And the only one that could answer all of my questions was the Marine Corps. My first recruiter was kind of not a stellar Marine. He actually ended up out of the Marine Corps prior to me going to boot camp. My second recruiter, though, was awesome. He was actually honest with me. He said, you know what? There's awesome times. There's crappy times.
Yeah.
He said, whatever. Duty sucks. There's all these other things that are going to absolutely suck. He said, but you know what? It's the best thing you're ever going to do with your life.
Yeah. So what year was that you went to?
01.
Oh, 2001.
Yep, 2001. I graduated high school in May. I left for boot camp in July. Graduated in October.
Wow.
Signed when I was 17. My parents were livid. My mother and I were not on speaking terms the day that I left for boot camp. Yeah.
It's a common thread. You're doing what?
Yeah. Especially since I threw away the scholarships. Like, I had a by-name invitation to the Toronto Conservatory of Music.
Wow.
So, like 20-something almost 21 years later, 20 years later, my mother is still mad at me for that.
Do you still play?
No.
Okay.
After my accident, I had kind of... Well, part of the reason for joining the Marine Corps is my mother made it so miserable for me to play. I was no longer playing for me anymore. However, I do have a piano, and I've slowly started back playing. So when my mother hears this episode, I don't want her to get mad at me. So I'm working on playing again.
That's a lie that will fly, as they say.
So, yeah.
So in what MOS did you end up getting?
Aviation operations.
Aviation operations. And you went to what kind of squadron?
So I started out in a 46 squadron, and I got to choose my first duty station. So I hear Marines all the time. They're like, "Oh, I hated my MOS." I love my job. So I went to MOS school in Meridian, Mississippi, the armpit of the United States,
Yes.
by the way.
Yeah, sorry, Meridian.
It's true.
But you know what
NAS
you
Meridian.
are.
You know what you are.
Yeah. So we ran a lot and we learned a lot. However, when we got to graduation day, so they stood everybody out in the hall based on your GPA. And they had a list on the board of all the different duty stations that were looking for our MOS. And from highest GPA to lowest GPA, you got to pick where you wanted to go.
Which is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked Okinawa, Japan. I wanted out of the States. I wanted away. I wanted gone. And so I got to go to Okinawa, Japan.
Cool.
And I went to HMM 262. So I went to a 46 squadron.
Mm-hmm.
Terrified PFC checks in. Went to the joint reception April 13th. I checked in on my birthday. Lost a day because of all of the travel. Dropped to my squadron April 20th, a week later. And we were on ship deployed the following week.
Wow.
It was awesome.
That's awesome.
So
What kind of stuff did you do in that MOS?
So in the S3, we keep track of the who, what, where, when, and why.
S3 is the operations section, right? Yeah.
Yep. So the keeping track of the who, what, where, when, and why of the flying. So I need to know where all our planes are, who's on them, who they're carrying, what they're carrying, when they're coming back. In addition to that, all of the ground training. So every Marine has to have annual training that they're required to do, their physical fitness test, their swim qual, their rifle range, all of that happy stuff. So we kept track of that stuff too. And so we had our regular aircraft that we kept track of, along with the hours and stuff like that for all of our aircrew. But then when we became part of the MEU, which you guys have talked about before, we had additional aircraft that came in. And so we had to keep track of all of those aircraft as well.
Okay, so the composite squadron, once the helicopters and the fixed-wing aircraft all kind of get together.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Different types of helos.
Yep.
Yeah. And who doesn't love a meal?
Sure.
I had fun.
So,
I had fun.
If you go on a meal and you don't have fun, get out because there's something wrong.
So I
with
got this picture of you on the 50 cal. What's going on here? How did that come about?
So life is what you make it. Your career is what you make it. So the 50 cal was in Korea. So being a female back then, I say back then, like it was that long ago. However, looking back, it's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, it kind of was.
It's almost 20 years ago at this point.
Right.
So it is that long ago, not in relation to the dinosaur over here.
Hey, it's Reconnosaurus Rex to you.
However, almost 20 years ago, if you look at the female population back then, if we had 300 Marines in a squadron, there was 2 females.
Yeah.
And one was going back stateside because she was knocked up.
There's another shocker.
When Okinawa, you have that much room and that many men and this many females, things are bound to happen.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I actually had found a bet between a couple of senior individuals in the command, making bets on how long it would take me to leave the command pregnant, and knock on wood, I did not leave the command pregnant. I did leave married, but not pregnant. So I win. Point for Maggie.
$5 well spent.
So we did, when we did become a composite squadron, we did pick up other females. We picked up some bulk refuelers. We did pick up some admin. And so it all was what you make it. So if you just sit in your office, if you're an admin person and all you do is sit in the S shop, which is, and you are. If
A
you,
pogue is a person other than grunt, by the way.
which is like the entire wing.
Geek fits too.
If you're a person that sits in the office and you don't ever get outside your office, you're probably not going to have a very good time. And so I did my office work, and then I was always in the flight line, or I was always out. I learned how to safety wire blades. I mean, I was busting rust on chains because I hate being locked up inside. In an office. So I love being outdoors. I love being in the sun. I want to be doing something. And so I was afforded the opportunity to learn all of these things with these guys.
And you're not afraid to say you don't know something and let somebody teach you either, which I think is admirable quality.
Yeah.
You really like develop good relationships with people if you just ask them, hey, what are you doing? Can I learn how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a good way to kind of meet people in the Marine Corps and expose yourself to new things and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody likes to scrub rust off a chain, so if you're willing to sit there on the flight line scrubbing rust off chains when nobody else wants to,
You're a
they're
hero.
like,
You're a hero,
yes, you're gonna do what I don't want to do, and you're
Hey,
like,
what else can we get her to do?
and you're like, yes, I don't have to sit behind the desk.
Sure.
Oh, I'm getting a tan. And so, but if you put in the time to build those relationships when you're in Korea or you're in Thailand or when you're in Australia and you're doing all of these things and they've got extra stuff going on and they're like, hey man, you want to jump on this flight? You're like, hell yeah, let me go. And then you end up behind a 50 cal shooting stuff.
Nice.
Even though you're an S-shot bitch that doesn't ever have anything to do with any of that.
But that's part of being on. I mean, you've done that before. I know we
sure.
did. We used to take the mess cranks because we wanted extra food.
Yeah.
So we take them rappelling with us on the ship. We set up rappel points into the well deck.
Yeah.
And we got all the kids out of the mess hall to do it.
Yeah.
Knowing full well when I wanted a bologna sandwich at 3 a.m.
You'd get it.
Yeah.
Always keep the mess people happy.
Yeah.
So my
Always
team
keep 'em
leader when
happy.
I was at Force was that way. Staff Sergeant Chapanis, awesome dude. Every time we go anywhere, anytime we go hit a range or whatever, he'd pull the drivers aside.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to shoot a unique weapon system or
Sure.
whatever. You know, he really thought about people like that.
Yeah.
And he built great relationships. And anytime we needed anything,
That's the beauty of
Anything
it. There's a
from
quid pro
anybody,
quo. I mean, it's fun. It's nice to see the kids have fun. But the quid pro quo is when you need something, that dude's going to help you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Maggie, that attitude is probably how you found yourself, you know, working your way into this McQuist thing, right?
I got voluntold.
Okay, I'm surprised.
What does McQuist stand for?
Yeah, let's
Because
start
they've
with
changed that acronym since Reconnaissance Rex was in about 20 times.
So it was, Marine Combat Instructor Water Survival.
Okay, so you taught people how to swim.
Yes.
Okay.
To survive in the water.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of been a bastard child my entire career because I am willing to do what other people don't want to do because whatever, man. It adds to your resume. It's something new. It's whatever. So after my first tour of active duty, I've kind of wandered around a little bit. I ended up coming back stateside and I ended up in the MEFG-3. And I was a sergeant, then sergeant working for three master sergeants and 3 lieutenant colonels. And best job ever, though. You know what? Everyone's like, oh, God, why would you want to work for like that much top cover? It was freaking awesome. Because the individuals that I had were just awesome personalities. I don't want to name names. But they were awesome. They know who they are. Like, if they see this, they will absolutely know who they are. We used to pick on Mr. Magoo. He had these Coke bottle glasses, and he would always ask us to make his screen bigger. And so we do it so, like, the letters were literally that big.
Gosh.
And you'd walk into our office, and his desk was right here. And as you'd look
Clearly,
over,
he was not a pilot.
no. 03. So I worked with 2 03s and an engineer.
Wow.
And,
so 03 is an infantry guy.
Yes.
So Coke bottle glasses on an infantry guy. That's also weird.
It happens, though.
This is like 30 years into his career at this
Yeah.
point. So
And BCG's to boot. I bet they just look great.
so you'd walk into
Birth
the
control
office.
glasses. They're like Buddy Holly, black or brown, thick frame.
The Marine
Think
Corps
of
has a
what-
special thing. Whenever those glasses come back in style, they change them.
Yeah,
So
make 'em so
they
they're
make
out of
sure
style,
they
right.
issue glasses to you to make you are the biggest dork on the planet. Whatever they give you.
It was hilarious though, because you'd walk into the office and he'd be on his computer and you'd see him, he'd be like, and then so he was facing this way, and then we had 2 master sergeants here facing this way, and then the 3 lieutenant colonels, and then we had 1 rotate out and we got a full bird, and I mean it was the greatest tour ever. However, it was at that point that they were looking to revamp the entire water survival program, and so they all looked at me and they're like, well, you're young enough and dumb enough to pass the water survival program, the McQuist course, so you're our guy. And I was like, oh, wait, what? I haven't done a swim call in since boot camp, and
Yeah.
we're at 9 years into this. So yes, I know we're supposed to keep track of annual training. However, when the unit doesn't do annual training, and anybody who's ever been in the Marine Corps knows that water survival, everyone's like, oh, nobody ever does any of this. So
Unless you're Enrique, huh?
yeah, when you're
You.
I don't know you.
so I wasn't worried about it. I grew up with a pool. I literally could swim before I could walk, which is part of why they threw me into it. My parents were terrified I would drown, so they made me learn how to swim before I could walk. High school swim team, all of that. So they're like, hey, you need to go contact the swim school and figure out how to pass the screening. I'm like, what's this? Wait, what? Okay. So I go over there and they're like, well, you have to, this is the old program. They're like, well, you have to go through all 5 levels and the pre-screening. And oh, by the way, the course starts in a week. I'm like, what?
So when you say all 5 levels, you're talking about the swim qualification levels.
All the way up through WSQ, which, all right. If you are comfortable with swimming and being in the water, which I was, it was all right. I mean, it was still...
It gets progressively harder. First you learn how to swim, then you learn how to swim with gear, like clothing and boots, and then you learn how to swim with packs and rifles, right?
Drown proofing.
There's a lot to it.
So I did all that, and they're like... And, of course, again, I hear, you're a female, you're not going to do well in our program. I'm like, what? Okay. I'm not going to dime out the person who said it, because they were one of my instructors, and try to fail me. So, I was supposed to go to the May course. It ended up paperwork and all that, so I ended up going to the June course. And I went through... And it was a gut check. I'm not going to lie. Yes, we didn't do the axe skills because they got rid of them. And, of course, true to Marine Corps fashion, if you didn't do it the way that the person before you did it, it wasn't anything.
I was in the last hard course.
So, and I've heard that so many times. They're like, oh, you had it easy. I'm like, whatever, bite me. So... it was a gut check. We started with I think 12 or 13 and we graduated 7. And I don't know if you put up the picture of my graduation of us on the tower.
The midget picture.
We'll put it right now. Yeah.
Where
those are some tall guys.
I'm not short, but in that picture,
You look like a
you
midget.
look like a little girl.
I look like Keith. What do you mean?
Funny.
I look itty bitty. And so Yoey next to me was actually a contractor where we worked for a while. These dudes are like 6 something.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to compete with them for swim times. I'm like, okay, my reach is here. These guys have like an 8-foot wingspan. So we get through the course and we get to rescues. And so there's like 4 different stations and you have to do all of these different rescues and tows and carries. And I could do them all.
This is the part that you're like learning to be a lifeguard, basically, like an advanced lifeguard.
An advanced lifeguard.
Sub tuck and duck.
Yeah.
First just carry.
So, so you have to do the American Red Cross rescues, which is your lifeguard part, and then the Marine Corps, of course, has to make everything more difficult.
That's what we do.
We add gear and rifles and helmets and all of this other stuff to make it more complicated.
Yeah.
Because that's, what the Marine Corps does. And so there was this one instructor, and height doesn't matter so much in the water unless you're trying to beat someone for time. Okay. Reach can get you. But when it comes to rescues, water is the great equalizer. However, buoyancy is a biatch. And so I had this one, and when you're only allowed to use one technique on someone, I would not have used this technique on this individual just because that's not what I would have done in a real life situation. I could not do it on this one person. I could do it on a variety of other people, so they tried to fail me for that. And then they had me retest on someone else, and it was good. So I graduated from that class on Friday. Saturday morning, we left to go to Hawaii for a conference to test out all. They wanted to incorporate the Hilo Dunker into the water survival program because at that point, so many aircraft were going in the water, and they wanted to make egress training. So teaching Marines how to get out of a helicopter, part of the required annual training, because so many Marines were dying
in the water.
In the water. At that point.
And it wasn't from swimming. It was because they didn't know how to get out of the plane with all their gear on.
Well, the other thing with the 46, what's the first thing it does when it's the water? It
rolls over, yeah.
So now you're in pitch black water upside down with a bunch of gear, and you can't find your way out, and you drown.
So the Hilo Dunker was like a simulator where they built a canister that they put you in, and they flip it upside down and sink it underwater, and then make people egress in the pitch black.
With gear on, you get hooked on shit.
Yeah. Okay. And so you were out there learning how to do that.
So we were playing around with because our gear was not conducive to that as well either.
Oh, yeah.
So we were experimenting with different types of gear. on top of experimenting with the Hilo Dunker to see what would work.
Okay.
And so you now see the program that we have. If you were in the Marine Corps, I had a lot of doubts about it. However, those above me had some other ideas.
It really works.
It does, because before, when I came in at the beginning, there was nothing.
Yeah.
It was like, hope you get yourself out, don't drown. Well, guess what? Everybody was drowning.
Mm-hmm.
When we bounced them off the deck, you got a 40-foot drop, maybe a 60-foot drop, crash into the water, bird goes turtle, black. If you're still conscious, then there was no training for that. I was like, I hope you can swim out.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
So, I know that the next thing that you worked on was some jet ski work.
Yes, Maggie, tell us about the jet ski.
So I was from 07 to 09. I worked at the MEF and I was an instructor. I kind of pimped myself out to different units because I love teaching people. I love working with people in the water. Again, kind of goes back to I hate being in the office. However, I had to deal with sergeant's course and sergeant's course allocations. But the last week of every month, I was with different units. I was in the pool. I was helping tons of people and I loved it. Well, then in 09, I went to the water survival school and I became an instructor trainer. So I got to make instructors.
Nice.
So for me, that was a huge jump forward because not only did I still get to teach people how to survive, but then I got to teach other people how to teach them. So for me, that was like the epitome of awesome.
Yeah.
And now I could expand my sphere of influence. And one of the reasons that was a huge deal for me is I had actually watched someone drown when I was a lot younger.
Wow.
And so being able to expand my sphere of influence to help other people not drown is really the driving force for all of this. And so I go to the schoolhouse, and in the 3-week course, we have a day where we go and we do open water rescues. And
you know where this is going.
So our open water rescue craft was a kayak.
That doesn't sound very good.
If you've ever been to the kayak sports fans out there in TV land,
In the ocean.
they do this. Boop. Very quickly.
Especially if you've never done one before.
And what do you do with the dude when you get to him?
Yeah.
You're in a kayak.
Yeah.
So
It's silly.
That's the
I guess
stupidest thing
throw
I
him a
ever
ring,
heard.
right?
we've been really lucky before. We've been really lucky. Really lucky that we've never had an incident, because I can't tell you how many times the kayak would get pushed and then flipped in the surf. The kayak was more of a liability than anything. They've corrected that to the powers that be.
Yeah.
So they decide to go to a jet ski because, hey, we're Baywatch. We're going to cruise through the surf and we're going to
Looks
throw.
cool. It's fun.
Absolutely.
That's what they do.
Yay.
I mean, that's what they do in surf competitions,
Yeah, absolutely.
and everybody needs jet skis to rescue people
I remember all this
in
nonsense.
6-foot water. By the way,
Yeah.
I mean, we get some rip currents, and so better than a kayak.
But you can get to a drowning person a lot faster that way, can't you?
Truth.
And you can do something with them.
Yeah.
And you can throw them on a board.
Yeah.
You got two people. So anyway, much better idea than the kayak.
Until Maggie showed up.
So anyway, so they decide that if you can do it on the West Coast in open water, you can do it on the East Coast in open water.
That's
that's
true.
probably true,
That's true.
Okay.
Much bigger waves out there.
10-foot plunging surf at a 12-second interval. Maggie's going to die.
Oh no, 3 to 5 second. For the record, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. My bedroom looked into my neighbor's kitchen. The driveway, the houses were driveway width apart. Mm-hmm. I had an in-ground pool. There's no waves in the pool unless I do a cannonball. We had Lake Erie. However, it was really cold and it got kind of gross, so we really didn't go to the lake very often. Plus, it's also where I watched a kid drown, so I was not really a fan of open water at this point. Open water being a lake.
And then they get
Ocean?
into ocean.
I don't do ocean.
Now you do.
So they send us to California again. Never been to California before, except to fly into LAX. So we get out there, and So we start, and they start us out with this day of classes, and they're like, okay, well, here's all of this, and we're going to do this, and here's how to orient yourself to your boat, because they call the jet skis boat. Never been on a jet ski either, by the way. Never been on a jet ski, let alone operated a jet ski, and never been in the ocean.
Nice.
No, I lied. On spring break, we had gone down to Florida, and I had been in the Gulf of Mexico.
That doesn't count, honey.
So you've never been in the ocean when you weren't drunk, you're saying?
I was underage with my parents, so I was not drunk. However, so so now I'm over my head. But of course, I'm in the Marine Corps, so you got to be like, I got this. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And I'm talking to my corporal, and I'm like, I'm like, dude, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I'm in trouble. So they start us out in the harbor, and we're like...
By the way, why did they never come up with the idea to call that a water cycle? Because it's a motorcycle on a boat. Sorry.
On us. Real him in.
Tangential thought. Go ahead, please.
No idea. However, so we're in the harbor, and they're like, hey, if you see a bunch of seals pop up, there's probably a shark behind it. I'm like, what the? What? Okay, so now I gotta figure out how to run this stupid thing, and now I gotta worry about freaking Jaws coming up, because that's all I think in my head. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, son of a bitch, I hate my life. And I'm like, and my Corporal Jeremy Riley, freaking great dude, and I will shout out to him because this is funny as hell. He tried to save my ass a bunch of times. He's like, dude, I got you. We got this. And I'm like, I don't got this. Keep that in mind, because I really did not got this. So we're in the harbor, and I'm like, okay, maybe. And then I'm like, the second day, so we're doing these rescues, and we're like throwing them on the board, and I'm like, okay, we're in the harbor. Like, there's like, little wave, we're good. Like, I'm like, yes, I can do this. I can turn the thing on. I can turn it. I can park it. Yes, I'm good. And like a day later, she's like, all right, open water runs. I'm like, what? Offshore runs.
Your instructor was a female?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was like,
do you think females are harder on other females in the Marine Corps?
100% yes.
And here it comes.
So I'm like, I'm looking at the harbor. I'm like, oh, hell no. But this is in my head. And Riley's like, dude, you got this. Come on, man. You got this. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm like, no. That's big. Yeah. It's like 35-second intervals. Freaking, I'm like, I'm going to get demolished. Yeah. Like, this is going to happen. He's like, dude, we got this. Come on. I'm like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm like, my bosses are watching me.
And a 10-foot or 12-foot wave looks way bigger when you're on it.
Oh.
Than from the water level.
You get a 4-foot wave if the intervals are low enough, you're not getting out. Yeah. And when you're at neck level in the water, or jet ski level in your case, for a few seconds anyway, before you tipped it over.
Looks like I didn't tip it.
Tsunamis are coming at you.
So it's the perfect storm. There I was, cruising out on my freaking jet ski, and we're going out, and I'm like, okay, I got this. I go up, I go down, and I'm just cruising, and they're all like, zoom, boom, 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 boom. She's like, okay, you dive into the wave. You don't go over it because you're gonna go. Whew! I'm like, all right, I don't want to do that because that doesn't look fun. Okay. So, and all the other guys are like, oh man, that looks like fun. We got the SEAL in our class. I don't know how the hell we got a SEAL, like a legit, like a Navy SEAL in our class. It's supposed to be a closed class, but somehow we got some Navy SEAL in our class. Whatever. I digress. So everyone's like, zoom, they're going out, and we got like half the class out, and they're like, go, start your runs. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I go out, and I come back. I'm like, oh, I made it. Okay, she's like, go again. I'm like, fuck. So I go again, and I'm like, okay, I'm alive. She's like, go again. I'm like, fuck. So I go out, and I see this wave. I'm like, oh, there's a big wave. I gotta go. And I go to turn. However, I didn't turn fast enough, so I went up and up. And it was the perfect storm, and I'm like, oh God, this sucks. And I'm going up. Boat. And all I hear is this instructor's voice in my head, hold your boats, don't let go. ow! And I'm upside down and I'm like, I'm underwater at this point. And I'm like this. I'm like, oh God, don't let go of the boat. Don't let go of the boat. Don't let go of the boat. Oh God, don't let go of the boat. Oh, I let go of the boat. Son of a bitch. And I pop up and I look and I'm like, oh. Because my boat just keeps getting further and further away. And I'm like, do that. I'm trying to freaking get there. And the further I go, like, I just keep getting smashed by a wave. I'm like, I hate my life. Maybe if I just drown, like, if I just, like, sink. However, my wetsuit and all of the crap I had on was not going to let me sink at that point. No. I'm like, maybe Jaws will come get me. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I start swimming. And I'm like, oh, I really hate my life right now. And then I'm like, oh, crap. I'm going to get run over. There's people, like, I'm in the trough. Like, people aren't going to see me. Because they're not going to. I'm like, oh man, that's gonna suck. I'm gonna get run over. So then one of the other students came like flying by and they tried to do like the rescue. They're like, they grab my hand and they go to throw me on, but before I'm on, they take off and I'm like, they throw me even further from my boat. I'm like, oh. So Riley's on the shore is like, I got this. And she's like, stay where you're at. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, okay, no help is coming. And my boat just keeps going further. And it's upside down, by the way. Oh, yeah. And, oh, by the way, we didn't really cover how to flip the stupid thing over. Like, the video they showed was, like, in chest-deep, calm water with, like, 6 people, like, oh, turn the boat over, blah, 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 blah. Nothing showed in freaking, God only knows how deep of water with one person getting smashed in the face by a wave. So I finally get to the boat, and I'm, like, hanging on to it. I'm like, oh, God. I gotta flip this bitch over. And I'm hanging on to it. And I got my fingers in the holes. And all I hear her voice is, get on your boat! Flip the boat! Flip the boat! You're gonna ruin it! So I'm trying to climb up. And again, I mean, I don't know how deep this water is. And I just keep thinking Jaws. Because then a seal pops up. I'm like, oh, Jesus. I gotta get on the boat. I gotta get on the boat because there's a seal. So I'm like, I'm on my island. How the fuck do I flip this? So I like throw my way back. And the boat goes, nope. And it flops back over. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, and another seal pops up. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I jump up and I finally get my fingers all the way on the other side. And I'm hanging on for dear life. I'm like, oh God, I will do anything. Like at this point, I am bargaining with God. I will do anything to just flip this stupid thing over. I'm like, okay. Oh, here we go. And I'm making deals with God. And I'm going to apologize to my mother for this ahead of time. So, remember I said Navy SEAL that was in the class? He was super smoking hot. I'm just throwing those out there. And so, instructor and I were both, like, kind of hitting on said Navy SEAL. And he was kind of going back and forth. And I was like, God, I will not hit on said Navy SEAL anymore if you just help me get on this stupid boat and get back to shore. Like... So again, mother and father, I apologize. However, it worked. I made the bargain with God. And I'm like, okay, God, here we go. Just help me get on this stupid boat. And I get my arm up, and I get my leg up, and I'm chicken winding. And I'm like, oh God, now how the hell? So I grab the handle, and I managed to get myself up, and I'm like laying on the seat, and I'm laying there, and all I hear is, get your boat back to shore! Fuck.
That's the exact voice.
That's what I heard. That's exactly what I heard. And it's like when men hear women hear wah, 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 or really high pitched. That's what I heard. So I cruised back to shore because I was like, I am done. Like my fun meter is pegged. I am over this bullshit. I've survived Jaws. I have survived offshore runs. I am done. Like I am done. D-U-N done. Done. And as I go to pull up to like trade out with someone, because we had half the class, so we had to switch. Yeah. She's like, go again. I'm like, fuck you, no. And I get off the boat and I looked at the captain and he's like, I'm like, don't even fucking say anything because I am done. Someone else needs to go. It's someone else's turn. And he's like, all right. He like, so, and yes, okay, I'm going to apologize for being disrespectful. However, at that point, I was done. It was, if you've ever taught somebody key indicators, don't push. Like, don't push. Yeah. There are times to push and there are times that don't push. It was not one of the times to push. And thank God I had a great captain. Captain Sisbaro. Sissy, freaking awesome dude. His call sign was Fag, former action guy.
Nice.
So awesome individual as well. So he was like, whatever, dude, go do what you gotta do. So I walked off, I made it back to shore, didn't hit on the seal anymore, and I came back to the East Coast from thigh to ankle, and like just looking like awful because I was bruised. I was black, blue, green, purple. It was awful. The like pictures, we all look exhausted. Like we're all like in the pictures.
So Maggie, that spirit that you had the whole time you were in the Marine Corps didn't change when you got out.
Mm-mm.
You are a mom. You run a farm. You have a full-time job. You run multiple businesses, including quail business.
I do. I'm not even sure how my husband. That was my husband's bright idea.
Oh, you jumped on that like a dog on a soup bone. I'll guess that crap.
So-
furry animals. I love
10,000 of them.
So not 10,000 yet. So yes, Whistler Farms is the name of our farm.
7,000.
We raise bobwhite quail for training purposes.
Wait.
They do. They're so cool sounding. I've never seen it again. I do weird things. Like I have such a weird life, but it's awesome. So yes, we raise bobwhite quail.
Yeah.
Bobwhite.
You've had turkeys. You've had
My
goats.
turkeys are
you've
so
had
fun.
pigs.
The goat that
you've
stands
had
on the roof?
Horses. Yeah.
Remember that?
That's a whole nother episode.
I
Like
know. I hear
I
you.
cannot make up the shit that has happened. Like I can't make those things up. The other business that we have. So yes, I have the farm. I have a plethora of animals, but yes, we sell bobwhite quail. So for anyone that trains birds that wants to eat quail, we do sell them live or we do sell them dressed. So we do sell quail.
How would they get a hold of you, Maggie?
Very easy. My phone number. I can give my phone number. We are on Facebook at Whistler Farms NC. I don't have a website for the farm. It's just on Facebook. Pretty easy to get a
I'll
hold
put a
of.
link up.
Okay.
I'll put a link up in the description for you.
And then our other business is Hard Target Solutions, LLC. That is,
Your husband Steve is a cop.
yes, he is. He is a former Marine as well. He is very similar to me in that very action-oriented, slightly type A. But we do firearms training.
And he can't drive a jet ski either. That's all right.
I'm sure he can. I'm sure he can.
Just kidding, Steve.
Just kidding.
And you do concealed carry permits
Yep,
and
we do.
advanced shooting packages as well?
We do, actually, and we have a class going next weekend. April
Oh, cool.
5th and 6th, or 6th and 7th, whatever Saturday and Sunday is.
6 and 7.
6 and
we
7.
pick up on the 8th.
That's
so.
right.
So Saturday, April 6th and 7th, we have a Tier 2 class going on. It's pretty awesome. We have an indoor range going on, so part of the class is going to be indoors, but it's all scenario based. So there's you start out, a pistol, qual, just make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yep.
And then we go to multiple targets. We go to moving targets. We go to you moving, the target's moving, multiple targets, good guys, bad guys,
Nice.
flying targets. Steve likes to mess. I mean, this is really where Steve's niche is. So that we have open seats for next week, and we do have Facebook and we do have a website. So I can give you the links for
I'll drop
those.
in there as well.
But we do have some seats available for class next week.
We will help the local business person at every chance.
And I got to
Absolutely.
pimp a friend of ours because she made our super awesome shirts. I don't know
Oh,
if you
that's
can
right.
see.
Francis?
Francis!
Nice.
She's going to get so mad. But Doc's Designs out of Sneeds Fair area, Doc's Designs, t-shirts, mugs, you name it. I mean,
Yeah, she does
her
everything.
business has
Yeah.
blown up. She is just absolutely phenomenal. Great to work with, great customer service, and reasonable prices. So,
And she's a vet too.
and
Yeah.
she's not a vet. She's actually still.
That's right.
That's
I mean, she's in the army.
Sorry,
Big
Francis.
Sarge.
Yeah, Big Sarge.
Maggie,
She's
thanks
good
so
at
much for coming. It was really nice having you.
See you, Mags.